Final score, Wrexham 1, Leyton Orient 2. And obviously a real disappointment for us, as has been already pointed out. The first time we've lost 2 consecutive home league games under Phil Parkinson. But I think we need to maintain enough perspective to remember we won 4 before this, and also that it's the second half that was the issue. And it was an issue. It was a very poor second half, I thought, until we really managed to get things going when we were in kitchen sink throwing mode in the last 10 minutes or so. But the first half, maybe not so bad, for my opinion. Let's go through this and see if I still agree with myself at the end of the podcast. We unsurprisingly picked the same side that looked so good at Northampton on Saturday. Orient are in terrific form, haven't lost an away game since mid-October, and you could see why. I mean, Richie Wellens, their manager, has been getting an awful lot of credit lately and is in contention, we understand, for the Blackburn Rovers job, and you could see why. His team are extremely well drilled. He rotates consistently, and you could see in the way he seamlessly made substitutions, and players immediately had impact doing the same jobs as players who'd been doing well before being taken off. You could see just how well drilled they were, and they had the opening opportunity. They had Kelman up front, who's their top scorer and looks like a good energetic striker on loan from QPR. Donnelly, the super kid, on loan from Spurs, playing in behind him. And then with Williams on the left and Perkins on the right, that was a front 4 that were posing issues for Wrexham. Their link-up play, their pace, the slickness and speed with which they broke at us gave us issues. We want to get our wing-backs high up the pitch. But in doing that, we run the risk of leaving our back 3 isolated against that front 3. Perkins was playing very high and tucked in a little bit to support Kelman as much as he possibly can. He was a really good target for them. They could get that ball out to the right hand side in a little bit of space whenever McLean went forwards, and that gave them that first step into our half, if you will. And I mean, I've got to say, we must remember in analysing this, opposing teams are allowed to play well, and Orient, who are on excellent form, looked really good. They played exceptionally well, I thought. In midfield, Brown's energy was terrific, retrieving and the ball. And Prattley was really doing well, making little breaks down the right-hand side into the box, which led to the opening goal. They were springing those moves nicely, working the space, a little bit of movement, forward passes, pinning players, and then Prattley timing the runs right. They could see they'd been working on that so hard in training, and they were able to open us up. The first opportunity they had came Brown, again, carrying the ball forwards, finding Perkins, who pops it inside. Kelman does really well. He's about 40 yards out. He turns, drives forwards, but he can't keep his shot down. And then the opening stages, Orient are showing their hand early and are taking the game to us. But in the 15th minute, we take the lead. Terrific delivery from a set piece by McLean again, this time right-hand side, corner, ripped in to the far post. Real big crowd in there. And Keeley, another player on loan from Spurs, who is very highly rated, was really ringed in by Wrexham. He just didn't have a chance to get to it. So as a result, the ball lands in the far post at a very inviting height. You don't normally get balls dropping at those sorts of areas so nicely. And Rathbone charging in, cushions the ball into the net. An easy finish, and Wrexham are ahead. Now, this is where I want to be positive about this. We need to, remember exactly how it panned out rather than remember our emotions in the second half of the game. From this point onwards, for much of the first half, we are looking good. Certainly going back through my notes, it was striking for me just how many more chances we had in the first half than Orient, as you'll see now when I go through them. Orient looked good, but they weren't actually opening us up as much as I thought they were. But sometimes perhaps we could argue their final pass wasn't quite right. We'd certainly see that in the second half. But we were doing what we've done quite a lot in wins this season, which is, okay, we're not completely in control of the game, but we're not panicking when we lose the ball. There's a distinction for me between being comfortable when you haven't got the ball and being comfortable with not having the ball, if you will. And I thought that when we didn't have the ball, often our shape was pretty decent. We had a lead to defend, of course. It was different in the second half when we were leaving more gaps, and we'll get to that in a bit as well, because maybe we left those gaps a bit prematurely. But yeah, we looked fairly controlled, holding Orient at arm's length and making chances for ourselves. Smith was a constant threat and a constant target. He had a strange sort of time, Smith. I felt sorry for him. The number of times the ball's just bouncing awkwardly in front of him and he couldn't quite tame it was quite striking. On another occasion, I think if the ball dropped nicely for him, he may have got a few telling shots off on goal. He, pardon me, he had an opportunity shortly after the goal, breaking into the box, and maybe he could have played McLean in. Instead, he cuts inside and he hits a shot which is blocked. Rathbone then goes brilliantly, tackles it back, and in the end, Wrexham pick it up, and Rodriguez plays a cute little no-look pass on the right-hand side to force it down the line. And Smith, again, is in that attacking possession edge of the box. It just won't properly sit down for him. He squares it for McLean this time, but McLean's shot is well blocked by Galbraith. Then it's Dobson pinging out a good ball to the right flank. Rodriguez feeds it inside for Cleworth, who works it back for Barnett. His cross comes in and Rodriguez makes contact with a nice glancing header, but he can't trouble the keeper with it. Brunt then, with a typical interception and surge down the left-hand side, feeds a great ball, and Smith looks like he's going to be one-on-one with the keeper, but slips. And the ball rolls away from him. And then a couple of minutes later, well, a precursor of what's to come. 27th minute. And the ball is clipped down the right. It's that move that I was talking about with Prattley, who was charging forwards. He does really well to just about keep the ball in, as it looks like it's going for a goal kick. Pulls it into the goal mouth. Brunt is off balance because he's trying to protect his near post. Doesn't expect Prattley to be able to get so much of his foot around it and pull it back so far, and he misses his interception. Luckily for Wrexham, Donnelly is also attacking the space that Brunt thinks the ball's going to go into, and so he can't really do much but stick a foot out. It hits him rather than him hitting the ball that goes wide. But this is a warning, because 3 minutes later, almost exactly the same thing happens, and it's the equaliser. Again, it's Prattley sprinting to keep a ball in as it's played into that channel around the back of Wrexham's defence. Prattley gets there a little bit more comfortably this time, but still has to hurry his cross, pulls it back. Brunt misses it again at the near post, and this one, the first one is more understandable because he's off balance, running in one direction, and unexpected goes the other way. This one looks more like he feels he's set himself and is looking to intercept and mistimes it, and it carries through to Kelman. But to be fair, you can't blame Brunt for what Kelman does, which is receive it 10 yards out back to goal, turn beautifully and drill it across Howard into the inside of the far post and then into the net. Nothing Howard could do about that. And yeah, Orient equalised to the delight of their superb support. It's got to be said. I mean, well, we know they've not been happy about the Football League. And let's remember, it's the Football League who insisted this game was played on a Tuesday night, not Wrexham or our owners. But 567 of them came down and they sounded like twice that number, and they were superb and they really enjoyed that equaliser and the celebrations. But to be fair to Wrexham, we continue to plug away, and we, with the team making chances going into half-time. Rathbone with a free kick from the right-hand side, stands it up nicely. Rodriguez guts up well, but not quite well enough, and his header goes over the bar. A big, big chance 5 minutes before the break. Dobson doing really well in midfield to win a header. The ball drops on the right-hand side. Barnett beats Sweeney, swings it into the box. Rodriguez chests it down beautifully, and Smith has a really clear sight of goal just outside the 6-yard box, but he can't quite get his balance right, and when he does hit it, it's straight at the keeper. Big save by Keeley, but Smith will know that if he just had his balance right, he probably would have smashed it in without the keeper having an opportunity to see it. In added time, we get another free kick, and identical spot to the one that Rathbone swept in. He puts this one in as well, and the ball drops out of the box. O'Connell swings it back in. There's a bit of a scramble. James gets a foot to it, and Rodriguez in the end, well, they both drive in shots, James and Rodriguez, both of which are blocked. And then in the second minute, the final minute of added time, at the end of the half, again Wrexham pushing on, great long ball forwards by Barnett, picks out Smith again, driving to the edge of the box, but again, awkward bounce, it just won't sit down for him. And McLean's open on the left, probably should have played him in, but you can understand why a player of Smith's qualities and confidence wants to have a go when he's running at the last defender. But that inability to tame a difficult bouncing ball counts against him. Dan Happy, who was outstanding at the back for Orient, is able to reduce the space and get a good block in, and the opportunity is gone. Second half is a completely different affair. Like I said, at half time I felt pretty satisfied. We were sort of doing what we've done a lot against good teams when we got results against them. We're conceding some possession and we're conceding areas of the pitch, but we look fairly in control with that, notwithstanding Orient's ability to thrust on with the extra third man running. And we're making chances. But that all changes in the second half. It's a really disappointing second half in which we just seem to suffer a power cut. Orients make the first opportunity, it's a decent one as well. Sweeney down the line to Williams. Williams working it into the box. Donnelly on the left side of the area, about 10 yards out, left of the goal, has a defender blocking his path to goal. He drills a powerful shot which goes straight through the defender. Howard makes, to be fair to him, a very good save. He's completely unsighted and manages to get his hands up and parry it back down, and we clear the ball away. From the camera angle that you will see on the highlights, I don't think you really see what a good save it is. It looks more like it's just come at him and he's pushed it away. But when, from our angle, you could see him, and you couldn't see Howard when the shots hit, because he was completely unsighted, and that's good reactions to get his hands up to it. But he's got no chance 2 minutes later with a corner. It's swung in to the near post. Rodriguez heads it away, and Donnelly strikes the most magnificent volley. It goes into the bottom left corner. Now, Wrexham are complaining. Let's firstly, though, let's focus on the positive side of the goal. It's a beautiful technique by Donnelly. He hits it so cleanly. A magnificent strike. Wrexham are unhappy and complain, and I've looked at it a lot. There's a couple of issues for me that Wrexham may be complaining about, but I don't think we have a case with either, if I'm honest. Firstly is that Max Cleworth is marking Simpson, the centre-back, at the near post. There is argy-bargy going on between them. And ultimately Max goes to attack the corner into the near post. Doesn't manage to get there. He falls as he's about to challenge. And that's relevant for two reasons. One is, does it maybe slightly impede Rodriguez, although he still gets his header to the edge of the area. The second one is that when the ball is struck back in, there's two players in offside positions in the 6-yard box. They're definitely not in Howard's line of sight. The linesman's totally correct to keep his flag down. If Cleworth hadn't been knocked over and therefore was slower to get up and get out, then the player who was in the keeper's eye line would have been offside. But he isn't, because Cleworth is on the floor getting up and plays him on. So if we're complaining about the offside, and Rathbone, who was marking the player, certainly was one of the most eager players to instantly run across and complain. Galbraith, by the way, it was, who was standing in there. That's not offside. And in terms of the foul, I mean, maybe, but then Cleworth's got hold of Simpson's shirt just as the ball's about to be played in. I think it was a bit of a 50-50 one, just one of those, both players grabbing hold while marking. And in the end, we were the ones who suffered for it. So unless there was something else that I couldn't see, my inclination is it's a goal. We haven't got a valid complaint. the major problem is not that we go behind, it's that we fail to respond to it, which is unusual. This team's got a lot of spirit. But it just felt to me that from this point onwards, we kind of lost our identity, forgot who we are, stopped doing the things that we do well. Maybe that's partly because Orient were causing us problems, and certainly there'll be a string of opportunities for me to describe now as Orient get at us. But I don't know, we sort of responded like there was 10 minutes left and we conceded. And I thought the crowd did as well. To be fair, I thought the Stoke Cold Brew coffee end a few times tried to rouse the team, and I thought that was really admirable and we're trying to get behind them. But there was a real edgy sense of frustration about the crowd, complaining about sideways and backwards passes. I'm not saying that there aren't some situations where this ball should have been played forwards, but that early in a match you can't react as if it's 5 minutes to go, you know. And somewhat ironic as well, because people complain about us knocking long balls forwards, and yet it seems that ultimately, because we were 2-1 down, the crowd wants us to knock long balls forwards. And we really, because they lost sight of what we do. Didn't play well, didn't get the ball down and move it at all. We, for my money, had nowhere near enough possession. We weren't forcing Orient back into the half, which we did for spells in the first half. We were playing the ball forwards too soon, and as a consequence those passes weren't accurate, and we really just didn't get a toehold until, as I said, the final stages when we just roared at them. It was instead the other way around. In fact, the second half's examples of maybe Orient not being ruthless enough. Kelman bursting down the left-hand side. Perkins completely unmarked at the far post. Massive chance for Kelman, but for me, he delayed and played the pass too late. Didn't play it well. And Howard was able to come off his line and get there ahead of Perkins pretty easily in the end at the far post. Then it was Donnelly doing really well, turning Matty James, drilling his shot wide from outside the box, before Wrexham made a double sub, which I think needed to be made because we had to do something to wrest control of the game back. Rodriguez and Dobson came off. Fletcher and Cannon came on. Immediately, Cannon was really trying to put himself about. But we still weren't really making the ball stick up front all that well. Quarter of an hour left. Ryan Longman comes on. Interesting, on the left rather than the right, replacing James McLean. We're still not really managing to get that much momentum going, although we do have a few moments with 10 minutes left. A free kick, which Fletcher from about just under 25 yards out goes for goal, hits the wall and flicks off a Galbraith behind for a corner. Fletcher and the other man who was on the free kick, Rathbone, are adamant it's handball. Looking at the replay, it isn't. Don't get me wrong, I think it flicks Galbraith's arm. He's the last man on the wall on the right hand side. Hey, this hits his arm, but his arm is tucked in. It's not a penalty. The corner also leads to a moment of hope for Wrexham. Rathbone sweeping the ball into the box. There's a half chance as the ball ricochets off Pratley, bounces it off Brown. This is all at the far post and falls to O'Connell. He's close in, but it's a difficult chance, a tight angle, and he's off balance. It's just taken a double ricochet right in front of him, and he manages to swing his foot and make contact on it, but he puts it wide. He didn't have much of a chance then. 8 minutes left. We make the kitchen sink throwing change. So Jack Marius comes on and Owen O'Connell comes off. It's now 4 at the back. Marius playing behind Smith and Fletcher. Longman on the left is ostensibly playing as a left back, but he is staying up the pitch, really. Rathbone, who of course, as we all know, will cover so much ground, is essentially playing as a left-sided central midfielder and covering Longman and then supporting him as well, and indeed being all things to all men. Of course, we're going to leave gaps, and Orient again could have capitalised when we were left a 2-on-2 break on. Now it's the two substitutes who come on for the wide strikers, Williams and Perkins, Ajay and Abdullahi, and the two of them I thought were really good. You know, when the two attacking players came off, I thought, well, okay, obviously that's often what you do with 20 minutes left, give them a break. But they were so threatening. I thought, okay, good. If these subs can't get into the swing of the game, this could hamper Orient considerably. Didn't hamper them in the slightest, because the two subs immediately but just picked up where their predecessors left off. So 2 against 2. Ajay running at Brunt down the right channel, gets into the box, hits a shot, and Howard does well to get down and palm it behind. Now, last 5 minutes, we do finally get that head of steam going, and there were 8 minutes added as well. Orient did waste a lot of time. You know what I'm going to say here? I don't blame them. The referee just showed no sign of taking any action about time wasting. So if I was Orient, I would waste time. Simple as that. I guess the referee took the opinion of, I will not penalise them with yellow cards, but I will add time on at the end. So he adds on 8. So with 5 minutes left, we've got nearly 15 minutes to try and get at Orient. And we start hurling balls forwards, and we do manage to pen them in. And while, please don't get me wrong, Orient are the worthy winners of this, we were a bit unlucky not to grab a desperate equaliser with this approach. First chance we have, Rathbone feeding it down the left-hand side. Longman stands up a ball into the box. Again, the ball just won't sit up properly as Wrexham are attacking it in the area. It comes out to Barnett, and he has the first of a number of shots on the edge of the box in these closing stages, which is blocked. We keep the pressure up though, and in doing so, overcommit a bit. And there's a moment of real danger. Browns calmly feeds in Ajay, and now it's 2 against 1 now. Abdullahi is in support. Ajay carries it into the box, squares it to Abdullahi, who cuts inside and beats Brunt. And he's only got Howard to beat, and you think, goodness me, this is a goal. They're trying to walk it in here, and he hesitates a little bit. And of course, Rathbone, like I said, is everywhere. And from nowhere, he comes back and just gets a toe to it. He doesn't really win the ball, but he nudges it away from Abdullahi. It still falls for Ajay, though, who drills a good early shot back across Howard again. Howard has no real chance with it, but Brunt, to be fair, has covered back, gets on the line and hooks the ball clear. And this insane passage of play, which has seen Barnett have the shot after the scramble in the box and then the shot off the line, then concludes with Howard grabbing hold of the ball, pumping a great ball forwards. Fletcher is, I beg your pardon, Marriott is down the left channel, goal side of Pratley, the last defender. Pratley pulls him down. I mean, tell you what, you know, it's the way he certainly does pull him down. When you see the angle from behind the goal, Marriott looks like he's wearing a lovely off-the-shoulder number, and the referee, I think charitably, gives Pratley a second yellow card rather than a straight red for a professional foul. I suppose it makes very little difference. It's a 1-game suspension for either. But yeah, so Pratley is sent off, and Wrexham are up against 10 men now. The free kick is in almost the same position again as Fletcher's, which at the wall. This time Rutherford hits it, but it's straight at the keeper, who fumbles and gets a knock on his head for his troubles as he retrieves it. But he does retrieve it, and Wrexham have another opportunity pass beyond us. It's really deep into added time by the time we really get proper energy going, but the last 3 minutes of added time takes place in Orient's penalty area. There's a lot going on in those closing stages. Longman and Barnett both trying long throws, both decent long throws, but not Bentosa quality. Dan Happy and substitute Edmonds Green, who'd come on alongside him at the back because Simpson took a knock, are outstanding, throwing themselves at everything, dealing with crosses, and they were so good. Edmonds Green as well, of course, a pointless answer if you're ever on the show and you need to name London tube stops. And Wrexham just keep pushing on. Howard goes up for set pieces. Everything is going on. Galbraith at one point makes a brilliantly agile overhead kick in his own goal mouth, and Wrexham just can't force the ball in. Brunt feeds a long ball forwards. Fletcher creates a loose ball with his presence, and the ball drops to Matty James in a crowded penalty area. Lovely skill by James, who drives into the crowd with quick feet, keeps going, keeps control of the ball, lays it off for Fletcher. It's a good size of goal for Fletcher, but he hits it across the face of goal. I think it may be a mishit shot, to be honest. It takes a big deflection off Edmonds Green, and it's an excellent save by Keeley, who manages to get across and gets something, like part of his arm on it. Just really good reflex stop. 8th minute of added time, Barnett sweeps a really good cross in. Fletcher tearing in at the far post, and looks like he's going to hurl himself at it. Edmonds Green again, diving shoulder to shoulder with him, manages to just head it behind for the corner. Superb defending, and the ref allows time for that corner. Rathbone sweeps it in, it's half clears. Barnett on the edge of the box smashes in the shot, it's blocked in front of goal. It comes back out, and the final act, Longman on the left, sweeping in a really good cross again to the far post. Smith attacking it, just can't get on top of it, and from 6 yards out his header goes over the bar, and that's the last touch of the game, and Wrexham have lost at home. A strange one looking at the performances, because a lot of performances were very varied between the first and second halves. Howard, can't blame him for anything. Made a couple of sharp saves as well, to be fair to him, and that early ball which led to the red card. But you certainly couldn't attach blame to him for the goals. Across the back, I'd say O'Connell did all right. He's the one who sacrificed, because we're trying to chase the game. But I thought he did okay in terms of dealing with the threat in his penalty area. It was the outnumbering and players getting around the sides that was the big issue. I'd say, well, actually, Richard Sutcliffe for The Athletic, I think, put it well in saying that probably Brunt and Cleworth both had their least comfortable afternoons of the season, well, games of the season. I would agree with that. Orient really were threatening either side of the back three, and both of them were tested. Brunt did a lot of good things, but made a few errors too, and would have been disappointed not to cut out the cross for the goal, although, like I said, he was off balance. And Cleworth wasn't able to get forward as much as he likes to, and like I said, it wasn't quite so easy for him, not least because Perkins was really quick. You don't see people getting past Cleworth for pace very often, do you? But Perkins really was an impressive player, I thought, and yeah, he asked a lot of questions of Cleworth as well. The wing backs, I thought, credit Barnes. I mean, it was interesting. Orient's setup, it encouraged me at first because they were leaving Sweeney one-on-one with him. But to be fair, Sweeney clearly is a very, very good one-on-one defender. And Barnett essentially beat him once, got round the outside, put a good cross in as well. But yeah, that was the only time. Having said that, Barnett's work rate was excellent. And he was still threatening. He was also delivering decent service in from deeper. And in the second half, like I said, his work rate, he was really battling on the right-hand side. Now, since Longman's come in, we've been tending to give Barnett a break for the last 15, and I was hoping that wouldn't happen, because Barnett, I felt, needed to stay on the pitch. He was consistently taking the game to him. Like I said, he had 3 shots in added time, which were all well struck and were all blocked, and so it was important to think Barnett was a threat. So it was McLean who came off instead. McLean, who didn't have the influence I think he'd like to, in all honesty. And so he made way instead for Longman. Longman was really interesting. It was a sort of performance by Longman. First time we've seen him on the left, but the sort of performance that makes you think, oh, I'd like to see him making more of that opportunity, being given more chances to cut in from the left, because he obviously came in when we were on top of the game, but he was very direct, very purposeful, very aggressive, looking to cut inside and drive shots off. And yeah, he didn't have any problems driving through the lines. I like the look of Longman on the left-hand side. The 3 central midfielders, first half, I was satisfied with them. Matty James did a lot of good things in the first half, I thought, in terms of continuity play. And in the second half, he wasn't able to influence the game in the way we want, or control the game the way we want, but he did quite well in those latter stages when you might wonder, oh, okay, because of his profile, maybe we take him off and put in a more attacking-minded midfielder, but he was a bit unlucky with a couple of moments of quality in and around the Orient box. Rathbone was player of the match, just everywhere again. as always, absolutely remarkable. Gets another goal, equals his most goals in a league season already. But yeah, his energy and heart, and at the end when we were taking chances, his responsibility, the number of times you would get back and help out, incredible stamina. So Dobson had a decent first half, to be fair. Made some decent forwards passes, made some important disruptive challenges, started a few moves by winning 50-50s. In the second half, wasn't able to influence things all that much before he was taken off. The strikers, I personal opinion, would have been inclined to not bring Rodriguez off as early as we did, because I've already been saying, haven't I like the look of him. He's intelligent. He makes little things that make things happen. That is forte at the moment. And he's been really smart in spotting possibilities, but hasn't always quite got the timing of the pass right, or the weight of the pass right. The first half, I thought he was getting that weight better, and he made that some nice contributions. And I wondered whether he was worth keeping on, so that if we went to four at the back, he could be playing behind the two strikers. But I didn't think it was a bad game at all by Rodriguez. Smith, he had just an unlucky game. You could see straight away he's bristling with threat. But the balls wouldn't stick for him, or he'd slip, and it was just one of those days. And the Orient centre-backs were very good. But on another day, Smith might well have put a couple of chances away, to be honest. I think he was a little bit unlucky, so I felt a lot of sympathy for him, to be honest. Fletcher was a warrior, although it was when he was attacking crosses he was really looking his most threatening. Cannon came in, put some good energy in, but apart from a couple of nice link-ups with Barnes, he was obviously enjoying getting back on the pitch with him. Wasn't able to have too much to influence the play as we were going forwards, but like I said, his energy is always something you can rely on, and his desire to win the ball. And so there you have it. Marriott came in, of course, late on, and was a little so frustrated he wasn't able to get his shot off, although it led to the red card. He made that happen. So yeah, we lost, and the second half wasn't great. We could have got something of it. Keane made two very good saves, but Orient were the better side, and I think sometimes you have to hold your hand up and say, fair enough. As Phil Parkinson said after the game, there's a long way left in this season, and so we just need to get back to winning ways as quickly as possible. With a final score of Wrexham 1, Leyton Orient 2, I'm Mark Griffiths from Wrexham AFC.